Hi everybody and welcome to Book Club Review. I'm Alicia Dianne and welcome to my channel. Today is going to be the first recording and the first review of our new book, Steal Like an Artist. So it's by Austin Kleon. It's a little book, but it's a really fun book. And I think the biggest thing that I really want to relay when doing this particular book is that he's not talking about actually stealing people's work or plagiarism or trying to take other people's copyrights or try to rip people's stuff off. That's not the point of the book. The book is really about gathering inspiration and not just feeling like you have to come up with all of the ideas just out of nowhere. You're actually supposed to get inspired. You should get inspired. It's a good thing to be inspired by other people, other artists, things around you, films, museums. So it's just like a good, I really loved these first two chapters, and I'm excited to get into this book. Even though it's a short read, I think it's going to be fun. Art is theft. That was a quote by Pablo Picasso. There's a bunch of fun little quotes in here too, which I think are really cool. So the first tip, and it goes in a series of 10 tips or 10 notes. So they're all just listed in the back. The first one is after the title, which is Steal Like an Artist. And it does start by saying all advice is autobiographical. That's kind of like his introduction. And he's basically saying that this is a book that he's basically writing to his younger self. So I'll go through some of the highlights. One of the quotes that I highlighted is, "The only art I'll ever study is stuff I can steal from." And that's a quote from David Bowie. And it's true. You want to study the things that you want to emulate. Nothing is original. The writer Jonathan Lethem has said that when people call something original, 9 out of 10 times they just don't know the reference or the original sources involved. And that's very, very true. Even in art school, when I was in graduate school and you're writing an artist statement, you're supposed to be able to retell and recall the artists who have done similar things that you're doing before you have, because nothing is completely original. You should always be able to harken back to the types of artists that came before you. And you will really get kind of shade if you don't know, because more than likely the professors and the committee will know the references and even just the way of thinking that you're using that other artists have done already. It says, as a French writer, Andre Gide, or Guide, G-I-T-E, I don't know how you pronounce that, either Gide or Guide. It says, everything that needs to be said has already been said, but since no one was listening, everything must be said again. And that's why we make art. We make art to tell stories, and some of the stories that we're telling are some that people are familiar with, and the ideas and concepts and the things behind it are things some people are familiar with, but there's a whole audience of people who haven't heard it yet. And these really things that are really important need to be repeated. So if you feel like, oh, maybe somebody's done something similar, you putting your take on it is going to be what's making it new. It says, if we're free from the burden of trying to completely be original, we can stop trying to make something out of nothing, and we can embrace influence instead of running from it. It says also, you are a mashup of what you choose to let into your life. You're the sum of your influences. So basically, you are all the things that you consume, whether it's on social media and movies, gaming, everything that you take into your brain, you are like a smoothie of that. And then he points out that garbage in, garbage out. And that really made me think too, because I'm all right, so how much time do I spend putting things in my head that I probably shouldn't? And it's not to say that you can't have mindless things sometimes, but I think it's a good reminder. It was a good reminder for me that the majority, the vast majority of things to take in that I want to take in are going to be things that I want to emulate, things that I want to be inspired by, things that I want to be things that I want to things that are aligned with my beliefs. So it did make me think. I know that I'm not there yet. It's a little bit more in the middle now, but it made me think, okay, maybe I can spend some more time putting the things into my mind that I do want to emulate. So that was a good tip. And let's say, one of the quotes is that artists collect indiscriminately, artists collect selectively. They only collect things that they really love. So that sounded really good to me. You're only as good as the stuff you surround yourself with. I mean, think about your house. Think about the things that you have around you, like the art that inspires you in your home, like what's in your car, what's in your bedroom. All of those things, too, I think, influence us. And I noticed that a few years ago when I decided to really, like, surround myself, like, in my physical world with things that I wanted to inspire me, things that I felt like were uplifting, because before I just didn't really pay as much attention, even though I did like to decorate. I just didn't put a thought about how it made me feel and how inspired or not I was by it. It says it's your job to collect good ideas. The more good ideas you collect, the more you can choose from to be influenced by. So that was a good one. And another one that I pointed out was select only things to steal from that speak directly to your soul. If you do this, your work will be authentic. And that's by Jim Jarmusch. So there's a lot of quotes in here. Let's see. And pictures of my favorite artists in my studio. It's true. I have, it's when I look up, I see a picture of Elvis. I have a picture of Elvis, yes, in my studio. But I have a ton of pictures of Frida. I love Frida. And I used to hang my own art around. But then I realized, actually, I'd rather hang the art of people I'm inspired by and artists who I'm influenced by, because then it will help me to make new art. I feel like looking at my own work doesn't help me create new work, but when I see around me artworks of other people, it makes me feel more inspired, if that makes sense. Because yeah, I do think a lot of younger artists will hang their own art around their home, around their studio, but I find like more experienced artists are just from what I've noticed from people talking and from, like hearing about other artists, they hang up the works that inspire them. Even like Pablo Picasso, like would hang up like all of these masks that he had from Africa. Like he would hang up African masks all over and that's what he was really inspired by. That was like what gave him a lot of his ideas, was like the designs of African masks, all the intricacies and everything. So I think instead of hanging up your own work, hang up work of art that inspires you. And you can hang up pictures too. Like I have like a good thing about Frida. It's like, it's kind of both, because I have like her picture and it's also like her painting and her self-portrait. It's like it's a picture of her, but it's also her painting. So it's like a double inspiration. It reminds me of her and it reminds me of her work too. I do want to get a photo of Walt Disney to hang somewhere. And Jim Henson. What else does it say? It says whether you're in school or not, it's always your job to give yourself an education, look things up, chase down every reference, and it kind of like goes into like Google is your friend. And like reading this, I actually felt really inspired and started like rewatching some documentaries about Walt Disney that I watched before, but like I was taking notes this time, which I hadn't done before, which this process I felt like I was learning a lot more, like things that I heard before that just kind of went in one ear and went out. Like now I was really absorbing the information. I was like, all right, one of the things it talks about is like, or one of the lessons I always hear is that like success leaves clues. I think Tony Robbins always says that, and it like recommends like reading autobiographies and biographies of people that inspire you. But I think it's also a good thing for like documentaries and books and wherever you can find like information about people you want to emulate, and then see what they did in their career, see what they did in their life, and it can really help you to have an idea or a better idea of a direction to go. Because once I was seeing like the steps he was take, it was like these are all actionable things that he's doing. So let's see, carry a notebook and a pen everywhere you go. Doodle when you're on your phone. I thought that was awesome. Keep a swipe file, which I already have this in my, actually I have this already on my phone. I don't call it a swipe file, but I've had this folder for years. It's called like, I have a folder called Inspiring Art. So If I see art that I like, whether it's at a museum, I'll take a picture, or if it's on Instagram, I take like a screenshot. If it's on the web, I'll just save it, and then I have a folder and I just put it in the inspiring art folder, and then sometimes I'll just go through it. And it does recommend like having that folder, and you know, something that you can refer back to with artworks that you like and you want to emulate. The second step, which I read both of these this time, was don't wait until you know who you are to get started. And it says there's like a picture of like what we are and what we want to be. So there's a bunch of like little illustrations like that, little black and white illustrations that kind of highlight his points, which I think is fun. And it says it's an act of making things and doing our work that we figure out who we are. So it's in the actual act. And that's one thing that I realized too. Like, I was so afraid for the longest time to like do digital painting because I just didn't feel confident in it. But the last year that I've been actually making so much stuff, doing it, like so many illustrations, that like through that process, I'm learning like things that even more than I could have learned from other people, because I'm still learning from other people at the same time. But there's certain things that I'm realizing as I'm working that I wouldn't have noticed if I had only like watched someone else do it. Like certain things that you only learn from doing it yourself. So it says, I love both readings. You have to dress for the job you want, not the job you have. You have to start doing the work that you want to be doing. So it says, fake it till you make it. I love this phrase. There are two ways to read it. Pretend to be something you're not until you are. Fake it until you're successful, until everybody sees you the way that you want them to. Or pretend to be making something until you actually make something. And like I said before, he likes both of those phrases. I think it's good too. All the world is a stage. I thought that was a good point. Nobody is born with a style or voice. This was a good part. We don't come out the womb knowing who we are. We learn by copying. So copy is all about re-engineering. So we're learning how things go by like studying the master series, like all of those things that we're doing, we're learning as we're like emulating people that inspire us, who like we're doing those things and we're repeating those things. But through that act, we're learning like how that person was thinking, and it really talks about like learning from the process. Those who do not want to imitate anything produce nothing, and that's a quote from Salvador Dali. So let's see. Who to copy is easy. You copy your heroes, and you don't just steal from your heroes. One of your heroes, you steal from all of them. So that was like one of the key points too, is this like you're not copying one person, you're finding lots of people to be inspired by. And that's like the big difference. I've talked about this too before in videos, just like the idea that like if you copy just directly from one person for your own work, it's, you know, you're just copying. But if you copy from lots of people, then it's like it gives you insight. Like you're pulling things from different areas that inspire you, and you're making something completely new. Instead of making a copy of somebody else's work, you're making something that's new. So I might like the characters from Glen Keane, I might like the flowers from like Lucy Fleming, and I might like, I don't know, the color from Frida Kahlo, and I might like the messiness from Jean-Michel Basquiat. So I might like a lot of things from like totally different artists, and in my own handwriting, in my own hand, like pulling all those things together, it looks like completely something different. Okay, so in O'Brien's word, it's our failure. This is Conan O'Brien. It is our failure to become our perceived ideal that ultimately defines us and makes us unique. And I think that was like my favorite quote in the whole book so far. And I put an extra star next to it because I just think it was so smart, because it is in our mistakes, in our inability to get it exactly like the other person and the other people, that gives us our own style. And let's see. So lastly, like copy your heroes, examine where you fall short. What's in that? Something I can't read. I'm trying to say too much too fast. Sorry. Let me slow down. So copy your heroes, examine where you fall short. What's in there that makes you different? That's what you should amplify and transform into your own work. So this was a great read. We're going to do steps 3 and 4 next week. And I'll see you then. So until I see you again, be grateful, live balanced, be yourself, and thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.